I believe you remember factoring by grouping. It's very much like our ACB situation, where we recognize that when we put a quadratic into four pieces, we often are able to factor something out of the first two, and then we're able to factor something out of the second two, and that when we do that, if we did it right and everything's lined up the way it should be, we get the same thing that is left inside, and that's one of our factors. So this is something we're already pretty familiar with, and we're going to go ahead and do that. They've done some of the work for us, and that, if you look at it that way, we didn't have to think of factors of AC that add up to B. This is already set up for us. Let's see, these first two things, well, 25 comes out of 25 and 100, so we'll say 25 comes out, and you can see that there's three S's and two S's, so 2, and when I say that I mean S squared comes out. And when I bring that out of the first one, the only thing I have left is an S, and when I bring it out of the second one, the only thing I have left is a 4. Okay? And then let's see, I've got, for this part over here, you see that I've got this S minus 4, and so I know that, and I'm going to try to make that happen over on this green part. So I'm going to factor out an S, and well, not an S, just a negative. If you want me to say -1, I'll say -1. And that leaves a positive S behind, and it changes the sign when I factor out a -1 from the positive 4. And now I do have the same thing, because I factored out a negative from both the next two terms, and I wanted to get the same thing because I want to write it that way. I want to write S minus 4, okay, as a factor, and then I also want to write this and this, the leftovers, as the next part. So I have 25 S squared minus 1, okay, and normally I would stop there, but that is not what I'm going to do, because I recognize that this is a perfect square and this is a perfect square. 1 squared is 1, so that's a perfect square too. And it's the difference. You see, it's the difference of two squares. So I can continue to factor that, and I can say 5s plus 1, and I can say 5s minus 1. Okay, and I'll combine that with s minus 4. And there we go. I've factored it entirely now, completely. So if I multiply those three binomials together, I'll get back to where I started from. But that's the factored form.